One. Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's podcast, Taking Care of Business Today with Sandra Odendahl, who is a senior vice president and head of sustainability, diversity, and social at BDC. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me.
All right, let's talk a little bit about some research that BDC has undertaken and looking at Indigenous and Black-led and Black-owned entrepreneurs in Canada. First, what is, first of all, your overall impression of, the how much of an impact these two groups as entrepreneurs make overall on the Canadian economy?
Yeah, well, the impact is pretty significant, but of course we want to see it grow. So currently there are about 50,000 plus Indigenous-owned businesses in Canada, and they actually contribute almost $50 billion to GDP. The really cool thing about Indigenous businesses that we found is that they are creating new businesses at a rate that's 9 times the national average. So
Yeah.
significant growth in business creation in the Indigenous community. And then
So,
when you look at, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to give similar stats on
Sure.
Black entrepreneurs if you wanted me to.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of Black business owners, there are about 74,000 Black business owners in Canada. And again, in terms of growth, over the past decade, the number of Black-owned businesses that have employees, i.e. Bigger than a sole proprietorship, so that number of Black-owned businesses with employees has grown by over 60%. And if you look at that compared to the national average growth for businesses with any employees over the past decade, the average growth has only been 6% over 10 years. So Black-owned businesses are also growing quite a bit over the last decade.
Okay, and there's obviously, as you mentioned, more room for growth. What are the main challenges each of these communities face in terms of becoming an entrepreneur and remaining an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, for sure, some of the big challenges are, a lack of access to capital, the need for resources, and networks. So, networks of other professionals, entrepreneurs, people who can provide services that can also help these entrepreneurs succeed. Those are some of the key things that we're finding. And of course, there's a certain amount of systemic racism and bias in some cases that have left certain communities underrepresented in the entrepreneurial world and underserved for their needs.
All right, let's talk a little bit about BDC and what you folks are doing and going to be doing regarding this whole issue.
Yeah, thanks. Well, we are actually really excited to expand our support in 3 ways for Indigenous and Black entrepreneurs. So, first of all, we have a new inclusive entrepreneurship team that is really going to make sure that we are serving, in particular, Black and Indigenous entrepreneurs with a mindset that really puts the needs of those communities at the center of the experience for those entrepreneurs. We're going to, we've set aside a $50 million envelope for doing inclusive entrepreneurs loans for the smallest and earliest stage businesses that are majority owned by Indigenous Black entrepreneurs and also by women. And the reason we've selected this and created this lending envelope for small and early stage businesses is because, of course, we're finding that those segments face the biggest hurdles in accessing financing. And then thirdly, we are actually also putting forward $2 million to create 2 new investment platforms that are designed to support Indigenous and Black-led businesses, which are chronically underfunded from a debt and equity investing perspective.
All right, wonderful. Well, anything else you wanted to mention, Sandra?
Well, we really think that our role here is to help all entrepreneurs succeed. And we think that there's an opportunity here to serve these traditionally underrepresented entrepreneurs who have shown the desire for a high amount of growth and a high appetite to start businesses. They're still relatively underrepresented across the business community. So
Mhm.
what we want to do is we want to make sure that they're getting the loans, the training, and the investment that they need so that we can feel and they can feel like they're being served in a way that really positions them to succeed.
All right, wonderful. Thanks very much, Sandra, for joining us today.
Thanks again for inviting me and have a great day.
You too. And that was Sandra Odendahl, who is Senior Vice President and Head of Sustainability, Diversity, and Social with BDC. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Managing Editor of Canada's podcast, Taking Care of Business Today.